we don't have to move. That's a good background there. If I take my glasses off, it sort of looks like we're in space. It's... Sorry. I don't know about you, but it's starting to hit me that we watched like 4 movies today.
There you go. Yep.
We've shot reviews for some other things that'll be posted later. We watched Censor earlier, and Batman Long Halloween, and Stalker. Good thing we saved the 2.5-hour movie for last. How are you feeling? You tired?
Brain no worky. Brain...
I don't think that's because of watching 3 other movies. I think it's from watching this movie.
Yeah.
I love that the stuff you see in the trailer, like driving across that rickety bridge and then swinging the car like Tarzan, like over the mountain. I like that that's the first 20 minutes of this film.
Right, yeah. Because it just cranks it all the way to 11, man. It just...
all the way up to outer space, in which the rocket is built by Lucas Black, who's back in it. He's been up to some stuff since
apparently
last time we saw.
You know, like becoming a pilot.
Builds rockets. I can kind of go along with it. How Ludacris wasn't a hacker the first time we saw him in the series in Too Fast, Too Furious. He's kind of kept that to himself, and it came into play when it became a spy series. Much like Lucas Black practically building the flying DeLorean. Right. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't travel through time yet.
But it does travel through space.
I love that Lucas Black is back in this.
Yeah.
And Han, of course.
Yeah.
But I love Lucas Black, so I like that, and Han was one of my favorite characters in this series. So to have them both back in this is cool, and I like that through the course of the series, Tokyo Drift, which, other than the cameo at the end of Tokyo Drift, more or less started out as this like standalone sequel, but is like wildly important to the whole series once the later movies come into it. I made sure to text Sarah as soon as we got out of it, because usually it was, when I was living back in Springfield, it was usually me and Sarah that went to go see these movies. I made sure to text her directly afterwards, with pictures that I took from space in the film. Like, they did it. They finally went to space.
What'd she say?
Texting me back quick. She's like, fascinating. Like, fascinating.
Oh, brother.
I am shocked they didn't say that in this film.
Right.
Well, I can't wait to see what they do next.
Right.
Oh,
man.
We've crashed cars into satellites. We've gone into the Moonraker of the Fast and the Furious universe.
It's like I said earlier, you know, I'll bet at the writers' table they're smoking blunts.
We have to go to space.
And like, yo, man, I've been thinking about science and shit, you know, magnets and outer space and shit. Yo, bro, that shit's cool. We should put that in our movie.
Like 80% of what you just said are like lines from this movie. I do kind of like that there's this side plot with Tyrese having like an existential crisis through the movie, where he's just stopping and going, it makes no sense why we're still alive. Like, seriously, everyone, think about it. Are we superheroes? Is there some like higher power that is keeping us alive?
And that,
all this shit.
And that actually got me going for a minute. I was actually kind of like, oh, for fuck's sake, movie, are you really gonna go into superhero territory now?
They kind of did in Hobbs and Shaw. Idris Elba in that was like practically a cyborg. So it would have been par for the course if it turns out that they are just immortal.
Right.
Because you can get blown up in this universe and come back. Multiple characters have done it. I'm sitting there watching it going like, please, I beg you, explain to me how
they didn't.
Han
they
is...
did not.
They did. Like this David Copperfield magic trick.
Well, okay, the Han thing. I was about to mention the whole Tyrese getting what looked like smashed by the truck,
Yeah.
and then he just walks out from behind the truck.
I can buy that because it's like, okay, it just landed right in front of him.
Maybe.
And like, you're right. It could have landed on him, and what I was hoping was going to happen was like, okay, Tyrese dodges a mine in this. It blows up the truck. It sort of looks like the truck falls on him. What would have been funny is if it did, and it's like Looney Tunes, where he just went through the truck and then he opens the door and comes out of it. That
It's just wibbly wobbly. Like
would have made more sense than this sorcery that they do to bring Han back in it. The crash scene from Tokyo Drift gets more hilarious the more that they add to it. It's funny enough that it turns out the one in 6 when they
in that scene, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say, even Ludacris in that scene was like, "How are you still alive?" And he didn't explain. He didn't say nothing.
And then when Han is explaining it later, he's like going into this whole backstory and he starts talking about all this other stuff. And Tyrese is like, yeah, that's fine. Can we get to the part where you like survived this car blowing up? I'm sitting there going, yeah, you probably should jump to that. And it's, yeah, in Fast 6, where it turns out it was the car that hit Han was Jason Statham this whole time, and like no one really saw him do this other than when it's showing this flashback. In this, now I look back at that and go like, yeah, that's perfectly feasible how it turned out Jason Statham did all this, because what they do in this to bring Han back is ridiculous, but par for the course of everything else that's going on. Like, all right, sure, I can go along with it. I have to go along with Lucas Black building space cars that they got to go up to destroy satellites. There's no real reason to get into the plot, which is basically just it's a MacGuffin plot where that involves world domination. This villain that wants to, this James Bond villain needs this thing to take over the world. That's okay. That's all you really need to know about the story in this film.
You know what though? I will say this much. I loved the technology in this in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lucas Black. He built a remote control car, and they even had an autonomous car in this.
Yeah.
They had a Ford Mustang driving itself, and I did not see a driver.
Oh, John Cena. Yeah.
No, okay. Joke aside. That was literally John Cena's character's plot. He was Dom's brother who frequently was overlooked.
That's true, yeah. I think we're just finding out about him this season.
He didn't see it.
I can't remember if they mentioned a brother. All of that, like, I can honestly buy more than that. I think at this point in the timeline, Lucas Black, his character, should maybe only be about 20, 21 years old, because he's a high school student, which that was hard enough to believe that he was a high school student in Tokyo Drift, and that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
In this, I think in the timeline, this is not that many years after Han got blown up and the events of Tokyo Drift happened. So, but what was funniest about that is actually in, was it 8 or 7? One of them had a scene that was taking place directly after Vin Diesel's cameo from 3.
Okay.
And it was so funny because they're like 10 years older.
Right.
And so I'm like, you know what? All right, fine. This is a soap opera with cars. People
really
can
is.
get blown up. They have brothers suddenly. And all right. Because the thing about talking about a movie like this late into this series and reviewing it, it doesn't really come down to like criticizing it really for being over the top, because that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That is just what they do. And they're
Right.
aware of it. They know what they're doing. They're trying to top the previous one. It's like, all right, I can't really sit here and be like, well, this is stupid.
Right.
Because of course it is. It's absolutely supposed to be. Really what it comes down to is whether it's still entertaining versus whether you're sort of bored of it by this point. And I wasn't bored.
Nope. Definitely wasn't bored. Definitely wasn't bored.
It's too long. It's about 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And there's some scenes that certainly could have been tightened, but they are followed up with some crazy shit in this movie. Car chases with magnets, shooting cars out of windows and shit like that.
Because science, bro.
Hey, they bring up physics in the movie when they're in space in a car. And Ludacris is like, it's all about physics, man. I'm like, really? Is it? I think physics was killed off in this series a long time ago. But again, something like that just sort of feels more like a wink than it is just being stupid, because it's aware that it's dumb. It's aware that it's over the top. But you know what? I kind of like, there's all these flashback scenes in the movie. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. There were times when I was like, all right, move on. Let's get past this.
Yeah.
Then there were other times I was like, it did kind of go back to its roots in a couple of scenes in the movie, back when this series used to be about street racing.
Right, yeah.
And in the flashbacks, when it's a younger Dom and a younger John Cena, dear Lord, could I not buy that those younger actors were supposed to be the younger Cena a little bit, way more than the younger
right. When the movie first started, I didn't even get that those were those two characters. Yeah. Because they didn't look anything like them. Like I was just like, I could sort of with the younger John Cena a little. Yeah. Maybe just because he was standing next to the younger Dom, who so did not look anything like Vin Diesel. Yeah. So like, maybe this other guy is closer only because he's standing next to the other one. But it does get into like them street racing each other when they were kids, where there was a lot of imagery that was like the earlier movies, where there's the loud music playing, there's the girls standing around everywhere, and then they're just racing across this bridge down this street. I'm like, oh, it's kind of going back to its roots a little bit, back when this was a wildly different series than what it turned into. But that was it's kind of smart how they did that with this series, because there really is so much you can do with those earlier movies about the racing and Paul Walker being an undercover cop, and then the stuff that they did in the third one, for it to kind of morph into this super spy thing. I mean, it's worked for them. I mean, those are some of the better entries in this, especially like Fast Five. Yeah. And when it gets to the point to where they're just trying to outdo the one that came before it, it does make you want to see the next one, to be like, what kind of crazy shit are they going to do next? And I think that's just the thing too. I can sit here and make fun of this movie, but we get all fanboy about Bollywood movies, and
the Bollywood action movies,
and we give them a pass. So I guess in a way we should probably do the same for this. We should probably just,
it's still entertaining.
It is. It's very entertaining. It's a whole lot of fun,
and the characters definitely have carried all of this. They have, because they are likable. You know, I mean, granted, after 9 movies, you're gonna know the characters pretty well. And, they all still have good chemistry with each other. They're all still very likable. I mean, it's cool to see how this group has grown through all these movies, considering how much different a lot of them started out as in the series, especially characters like Tyrese and like Ludacris and Lucas Black to an extent. I mean, his personality-wise, it's not like he's terribly different than how he was. I mean, a little. He's a little quirkier in this than in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, probably.
But but his knowledge of rockets and maybe I need to see Tokyo Drift again. Maybe his character had a fascination with building rockets.
I will say this. I do remember in Tokyo Drift, it was mentioned that Lucas Black's family was in the military, and he was like, so maybe
he'd like fly this military jet now with a car strapped on top of it that's gonna launch into outer space. Why not? If it means bringing him back into this series, cool. And he and Han have this reunion that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you're either still with this series or not. I don't see... If you've been checked out of this series for the past few movies, I don't see this bringing you back. I don't.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen anything past the third one.
Maybe not so much if you've checked out after 3, but maybe if you checked out somewhere around 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't... Although, you raise up an interesting point, which is like, it's funny going from the earlier movies to this one. Which is like going from Friday the 13th Part 3 to Jason X. I feel like I've missed a few chapters here. So on that end, that would be pretty funny. But if you got tired of this around the last couple entries, I don't know if this would win you back. Really.
No, I agree with that.
But if you're still with it and you're still just kind of there for the ride because you like these characters and you like seeing how they're gonna outdo the previous one, then it's fun. I had fun at it.
I did too. Even though I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, that's why when we reviewed Batman Long Halloween, when we were like, I don't know about that free fall off of that tower. Like, well, wait a minute. We are seeing Fast 9. Shit like that's going to happen every 5 minutes. And it does.
Oh my God. Suddenly now even Batman gets a pass. Yeah. That Catwoman's fall onto the subway.
Subway car.
Yep. That's legit. That's totally
considering
legit.
how John Cena's banking off of different cars in this that he falls off of that are exploding, and sure. I mean, this is going on simultaneous while there's the space scenes, so I'm like, well, if it...
There's a Fiero in orbit. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
I'd give it a B. I think it's entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one of the strongest entries in the series, but far from being near the bottom or anything like that. It's not. It's not that. If you've been with it for the last few movies, you'll still have fun at this one too. But I don't see it necessarily being a favorite, really, of any. Well, maybe, but for me, no, I wouldn't put it in the top 3 of these movies. But it's perfectly fine. Like it's a fun ride. It's crazy some of the shit that they do in it. So yeah, I'd give it a B.
Yeah.
What about you?
So here's the thing. I'm torn. I really want to just criticize the crap out of this. I want to give it a low grade and everything, but you know, we're gonna come back in a few weeks. We're gonna see a cheesy Bollywood movie, and we're just gonna fucking love that one, right? So in fairness, I can't give it the low grade that I kind of want to give it because of that. But I will say, Indian audiences, I get it. I get why you're all like, oh no, you guys, this movie is terrible, blah 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 blah.
Oh, Roddy.
But I don't know about you, but I love Tiger Shroff. I'm gonna Tiger Shroff, and he can do no wrong. so because of that, I gotta agree with you. I'm giving this a B.
Yeah,
I'm giving this a B.
Yeah, because again, like I said, what it comes down to for me anyway, and I'm sure for you as well, is the question is just, whether it's entertaining and not boring.
Yeah.
It's not boring.
Nope.
That's really the only job that it wants to do.
Yep.
So there you go.
not-
F9.
You're not gonna learn anything.
You might. It won't make sense. You will fail an exam if you try applying some of this shit to whatever lessons that you're trying to learn.
Oh my god. Oh,
Other than
please.
this deep crisis that Tyrese is going through in the movie.
Or Dom telling his kid, like, I'll be in your heart.
Oh yeah, because it's like it's a lot of dialogue like that where it's all like metaphors about cars. Like, you ever feel like we're all just driving in a circle? Like, not really. I haven't done that in several movies. I've been driving into shit, onto shit, through shit, from one building to another.
Off cliffs now.
Cliffs with some nice, strong bridge rope attached to it. Sure. All right, everyone. That was Fast 9. Take care.